Basically, I am going to talk about academic integrity, the ethical use of artificial intelligence to avoid plagiarism. My name is Refilwe Phala, and I work at the Research Commons in the main library. And what I want to cover today, the objectives of this workshop, I want you to, by the end of this workshop, for you to be able to understand the principles of academic integrity in the context of AI-assisted learning and research. I also want you to be able to identify ethical risks such as plagiarism, fake sources when using these tools. I also want you to be able to apply strategies for responsible and effective use of AI-generated content, or what one can say the ethical use of this content. And eventually, I just want to see if we can have time just to play around and look into the tools that I have chosen for the purpose of this workshop. Basically, let's start by really understanding what artificial intelligence is and its types. And I know now, by now, you know that basically it's AI, artificial intelligence, has been with us for years now. It's just that different types has come in, and especially the dawn of ChatGPT that really unraveled, what we used to know as AI to the point of where we are today, and we're talking about these things. So the definition of AI refers to a simulation of human intelligence in machines that are programmed to think, learn, and make decisions. These systems can perform tasks that typically require human intelligence, such as understanding language, recognizing patterns, solving problems, and making predictions. AI is commonly categorized by its capabilities and by functionality. And where we are now, we are in the category of narrow or weak, what they call narrow or weak AI. We haven't yet touched the general or strong AI, and especially the super intelligent AI. Artificial intelligence. So the types of AI covers, from Gen AI, which is generative AI, and it's the one that we typically all of the time talking about, and it is also defined as AI that creates new content such as text, images, music, and code based on patterns learned from the data. And we also now talking more and more about agentic AI. That is more of that AI that I don't know if you guys have seen it in Copilot, but that's the AI that you can create to read your email, to archive it, or to do repetitive job for you. And then we also have predictive AI, which is the AI that analyzes historical data and make predictions about future outcomes. And I just took these four, but there are still, I think, two that I have left out. And this is more conversational AI, that which we normally hear from our cars, where Siri is telling us to turn here and to do this, and there are robots here and there. And then Alexa is also one that we can also connect to our TVs and ask questions, that kind of but for the purpose of today, like I said, we're going to talk about generative AI, which is basically what we now know as ChatGPT. But that doesn't mean ChatGPT is the only one, but we will talk just for an example for your understanding, that it's basically generative AI operates is basically ChatGPT, and is the one that unraveled, what we know about writing as we used to know it. There are ethical consideration in Gen AI use, and those are, for example, risks of free AI tools. And I know that most of us, because we don't have the money, and again, this shows you the digital divide is where it kicks in very much, and it's actually something that we see and experience in the global South, because usually we go to the free versions, and often that's where we get actually a very not a good aspect of these models. But free Gen AI platforms like ChatGPT often store user inputs. Anything, the prompts that you put in the model, it keeps them, and it uses them as their data, or it improves the model. You'll notice even in your own little space where you're using generative AI, you will notice that as you use it and you don't remove, or you however your settings are, it will know what you have been asking and what you have been using it for. And so it learns based on the questions that, or the rectifications that you've been doing. So this means any sensitive data typed into these tools could be retained or exposed. So, which is why it is important that we know how to actually go to the settings and make sure that it's not going to retain our information and or the things that we put in, and then that talks to maintaining confidentiality. So it is important that students must treat all non-public academic documents, e.g. research proposal, exam questions, supervisor feedback, as confidential. Don't put them directly into ChatGPT raw as they are, because it's going to retain them, and that as a a researcher, it might have its implications, because you have also signed for ethical clearance. And that it goes back to the next point, where ethical research standards becomes very important in this regard. Protecting data privacy is part of maintaining ethical standards in research and academic work. When conducting interviews, for example, for a research project, the student should avoid uploading transcript with participants' name into AI tools unless the tool is secure and approved by the ethics committee. So hence, once again, one needs to be very transparent when you use these things for academic purposes and also for work purposes. And then I also want to highlight the limitations, of course, of AI tools. And I think I've said it in the previous slide, which is privacy concerns in free tools. It is important that one goes to your settings, make sure that you understand what they're saying about the whole, your prompts and what you're doing in the tool, and also make sure that you understand where they have trained the data set from. And also it becomes important that when you're using free tools for literature reviews, for example, one has to make sure that one has to understand that, for example, if it's ChatGPT for this for this example, that that it hallucinates. And in terms of also using it to write for you, it can fabricate data. And by fabricating data, for example, it might take, odd numbers from depending on, once again, that's why I was saying one needs to understand the data that ChatGPT is trained on, or Copilot is trained on, or DeepSeek is trained on, so that you can be very sure that whatever that you're doing is actually credible. And this could easily, if it's not, if you don't say look at it very carefully, what can happen is that your end results of your thesis or your research output in terms of your article might have unreliable references, and that can actually lead to your study, your paper being retracted, and we'll talk about that more when we go through the presentation. And then there is also, of course, advantages of paid, AI tools. But at the same time, I would also say that because with the paid app, they will also tell you where they will explain to you where the data comes from. And at least you will know, for example, there will be some examples that I'm going to show you where if it's ProQuest, you know that it's a scholarly database and it gets its data from that environment, and it's actually very much peer reviewed. And lastly, academic integrity consideration, where students must understand AI tools' limitation to maintain research integrity and avoid plagiarism, because at the end of the day, you are still liable. You have to actually account for whatever that happens in your thesis or your article. And then in terms of the responsible use of scholarly articles, one has to, let's look into the licensed content restrictions. Scholarly articles from licensed databases like ProQuest, EBSCO, those that you find from the library, are actually protected. And you will know that because they are protected, there is a copyright law that protects them. So if you take them, that article, you download it, and then you go into upload it in ChatGPT, that is a misconduct where copyright is concerned. So hence the next point is avoid uploading full text, especially those that are coming from a secured, licensed databases. And quite often, things, platforms like your ChatGPT, they normally use open access articles from that directory for open access journals, maybe ARXIV or Wikipedia. And that, if you think about it, at this point in time, if you depend, I think there was an article that actually also indicated that something like Google Scholar is also very much polluted now, because once again, it will be a point that I emphasize in the next stage, where you will then understand that because of fake articles, they actually pollute good science that has been put on open access. And I will explain that later. So that's why it is also very important that you double check whatever that you get from ChatGPT or even Google Scholar these days. You then have to double check from the library databases. I will just call them that, and then make sure that actually they come from a journal that you can actually trust. And then after that, you also have to paraphrase content manually and cite sources to maintain academic intelligence. This is basically what I've explained in terms of really knowing where the data comes from and verifying all the way. So at the end of the day, AI has made, especially generative AI, has made our life so easy. But at the same time, it has also made it so complicated because we have to play now the devil advocate, where you cannot trust anything that you find for free. And this is what I was trying to explain about risk of hallucinated and fabricated content. Again, when you say to ChatGPT, write an essay for me and include citations, I'm just giving you an example. It will just give you anything. It will make up those things. And at first, I know we were happy to see that a machine can just quickly give you that kind of information. But as time goes on, we realize that actually it's just making stuff up as it goes. But also it's because ChatGPT is not an academic AI reference assistant tool. So you can't use it for those for academic work. And again, there is an impact of paper mills where you get fraudulent academic papers. People are selling papers that they also generate using, these platforms, free platforms. So if you buy them and present them as your own, they can be, you might end up being in a very heavy, you might find yourself in a very sticky position, because should this paper be retracted and you presented it as part of your thesis, one can only imagine, what that can mean in terms of your career path, or maybe even your degree for that matter. So you will hear more and more that we're talking about polluting scientific literature, and it's caused by the things that I told you about before, where ChatGPT just give you stuff and then you believe it, or you buy a paper and then you just send it and then you publish it. And sometimes they even find a way to be published in peer quality journals. But later on, you'll hear, for example, Taylor and Francis is one good example where it's very transparent by its policies of retraction. And one can say it's a weak one publisher, but at the same time, it's because they are very transparent as compared to, for example, Web of Science, where we also, or Science Direct, or Scopus, where we also have seen a lot of articles being retracted. And I'm talking about at the level of Nature or PALS 1. Hence, once again, and you see some points I'm going to reinforce and emphasize as I go forward, like student must verify AI generated content against credible sources to maintain quality. And I'll show you some of the things that you can use to verify these things. And then the reason being that this cross-checking AI outputs is essential to preserve trust and academic credibility. And I mean, it's going to be useless if really when we think research and sustained research can help us socially to resolve or to solve a lot of our problems, and when we are careless about it, we might actually end up in a situation where these problems are stuck with us because we are not doing conducting research in a methodologically trusted and credible way. are going to look at recognizing and avoiding AI plagiarism. And I'm talking about AI plagiarism because what would you then call it's supposing to say that you went to ChatGPT and your prompt was write this literature review for me, and you took articles that you, for example, got from let me say Google Scholar, and then you put it there, and then it writes this literature review, and you put it in, you present it as your own. I think it's plagiarism in its own. However, this plagiarism was actually done by AI, not you in particular. But again, remember, you are going to be accountable for whatever that you submit. So using AI to write essays, paraphrase without citation, or submitting AI generated exam answers violates. It's actually a it violates the academic integrity policy. And it is also important that we understand proper citations, and these citations are given by our departments. So you will know that some departments are using Harvard and others are using APA in this example, and others are using MLA. So what happens is that even when you write your journal article, that particular journal will actually tell you that this is the referencing style that we prefer. By doing this, you can see that it says academic style supports transparency and integrity, which means that however you have used ChatGPT in writing your article or your thesis, you still have to show and tell us what you have used it for, and give us more like the prompts that you have used. And by so doing, you're actually also helping yourself, because at the end of the day, should a tool like Turnitin flags AI generated content, or flags a whole lot of similarities, you still have to account for that. So if you work systematically, where you actually putting, writing down your prompts, the AI that you have used, it will actually help you at the end of the day. And then it is also important that we learn how to paraphrase. And I've mentioned also the citation practices. They become very important. But what is nice about citation practices these days is that most of these AIs will actually assist you in terms of how APA is done, even if you don't use, you struggle to use there's tools like your Mendeley, your RefWorks. So, but you don't have an excuse to say, I couldn't do it right, because you can actually ask ChatGPT in this case, or Copilot, to actually help you to do it manually, and then you do it. I'm not promoting that you do it manually, because the library is there to support you in terms of learning how to use the machine referencing tools. But at the same time, I'm just saying there is no excuse these days, and then there's what is also important is paraphrasing. But when we're talking about paraphrasing, we also have to understand that you need to understand the original idea, and understand and read to understand the concept that you are writing about, or the article that you are reading, so that you can be able to write it in your own words. And that will help you not to patch write, because patch writing is when you copy from an article and put it in your Word document, and then you simply change synonyms. That is actually patch writing. And that happens because quite often it's because you don't understand your subject or what you're writing about. But again, there is no excuse these days, because what I've been enjoying now is that even difficult concept, when I read them using things like just for a simple example, things like quinoas, they explain. And even in the databases themselves, like ProQuest, it has an AI on article level where you can ask it questions, or it can break it down for you to understand. So again, there are the good side of AI, especially generative AI, and there is the bad side. And the bad side normally comes when you simply use wrong prompts and you simply copy and paste all the time. And also just avoid to try and dodge, and when I say dodge, I'm just thinking about the usual question where sometimes students ask on undergraduate, they will ask you a question like, how when I copy and paste it in Grammarly, or copy and paste it in Quillbot, or maybe ChatGPT, I have paraphrased. Once again, these are machines. So in Turnitin, it's going to pick them up because of the same syntax that these machines are using. So these are the things that, once again, you as a student or as a researcher, you have to also think for yourself in terms of protecting yourself against these misconducts. I talked a lot about what the rise of retraction of paper mills, or even the rise of retractions. So these days, you'll hear your librarians are talking about predatory journals, and what they actually telling you is that there is a lot of journals that you should be aware of, that they are not actually reliable. And if you publish in those journals, you actually have wasted your effort, because they just fraudulent in their making. They just want you to pay for that publication, and then after that, you're not going to get anything out of it. So one has to be very, very careful when it comes to publishing. And I just wanted to emphasize this part of predatory journals, because there is also PhD by publication, where your chapters are actually written based on articles that you publish in accredited journals. So if you publish in such journals, it's a waste of your work. And yes, sometimes they won't. You can't see them at a glance, because some of these articles, they could be published in journals, or in journals that are quality journals, but based on how the peer review process has been conducted, some editors or reviewers might have missed the fact that this paper was a paper mill or a fraudulent paper. And so later on, it might be discovered, and that's when we see the retractions rising. And like I said before, it's not only in low quality journals. You also find it in very high quality journals. And again, it helps. Hence, I say it helps to be transparent and say, this is how I've used AI. This is how I have used. This is the AI that I have used. Because if you don't, sometimes it can help actually the editor and the reviewer to see that, but you are not supposed to use AI for data, let's say data analysis, because it might miss on the nuance of your data sets, So once again, and they might also find that a lot of literature or references are actually fabricated, or they are fake. So then they are forced to actually retract that article. And of course, characteristics of predatory journal will be lack of peer review, like I've indicated, and aggressive solicitation of manuscripts, and fake impact factors and misleading indexing claims. Because some people can just tell you that this journal is rated. It could have been rated last year, but for some reason, it could also be taken out of the list in 2027. So, because these things happen very quickly now, and high publication fees with poor quality control as well. That's why I said at the end of the day, it's actually fraudulent. How to detect predatory journals? Check journals on, again, on the DOJ, Scopus, Web of Science, verify editorial boards, credentials and affiliation. And quite often when an editorial board is only showing you the private emails, I don't necessarily trust. But again, you can also go to their OCAT ID and just check, just to verify. Look for clearer peer review and publication policies. Use tools like Think and Check and Submit to do this. And then prevention strategies would be educate researchers on journal selection, and this has been done in the library. UNISA library resources and training workshops are very important these days. I know a whole lot of our students were not attending these workshops. Like I said earlier, the more these tools, help, the more they actually also harm, especially where research is concerned. And then consult your supervisors and your librarian before submission, just to double check that everything is done accordingly. Why journal get removed from indexes? And those indexes are like Scopus, again, like DHET accredited lists. They are removed because of poor editorial quality, like I said, lack of peer review and citation manipulation. Once again, ethical violation like plagiarism also causes removal when, this journal is looked at and they find that actually there's a lot of questioning. And sometimes, like I said before, it's actually a very good journal, but unfortunately, somewhere, somehow, the quality just dropped. Publication and metadata issues, irregular publication schedules, and failure to comply with metadata standard leads to exclusion from indexes as well. Impact on researchers. Publishing in removed journals affect visibility and credibility and academic progression of the researchers. As I said, at the end of the day, it's about you. as well. It's not only something that one can take it for granted and say, I've passed and therefore I'm fine, or I have published, but later on it can catch up with you. Again, understanding the journalistics and predatory reports. Like I said, there are what can I say, resources that one can use. For example, in the library A to Z, we have cables, which you can actually search journals that have been removed as from the list of other journals to fall under the predatory journals. And then let's look into what is also what we see as AI that is heavily used, or maybe that UNISA has invested in. Of course, you know about Turnitin, and it is important to also understand how to analyze your Turnitin report, because quite often what happens is that students are trying to they're trying to reduce the similarity index to counter plagiarism, but that cannot happen. You can't do it like that, because Turnitin doesn't necessarily say you have plagiarized, but it gives you indication of how you have, basically it highlights your writing style. And sometimes what happens is that we write with quotations, and it's going to highlight those quotations, or maybe we just copy and paste, and then we say, as long as I've got an author that I can say, justify this paragraph, then I'm okay. But you're not okay, because you didn't, and that's where you will hear a lot of supervisors saying, where is your words? Wow, I don't see your arguments, because you're simply copying and pasting and copying and pasting. And that is also called mosaic writing, where you just copy and paste, and then you make sure that there is a flow. So once again, be mindful that within Turnitin, there is an AI detection feature. Whether or not it's a good one, it's besides the point. There is that detection feature, and the supervisors can actually switch it on, and then they can see, whatever percentage that appears from there. And then authenticate. No, this is wrong. I was not supposed to say authenticate is fully paid by UNISA. It is fully paid on the basis of UNISA Press, but not for UNISA researchers. So if you want, it's one of those AIs that each and every publisher must actually give it to the people who wants to publish in their journals. But sometimes these publishers are very greedy, so they will want you to buy your own. You can actually buy your individual license but not the whole license. That like how you would pay for a month for ChatGPT, you could do that. Chair, am I still audible? Okay.
You are audible, ma'am.
So yes, that is authenticate, and it's a long story, because some authors, maybe like yourself, where you need to submit a research, a journal article, you would want to go UNISA Press route, but it's also being not fair to UNISA Press, because they bought it to make sure that the people who are actually publishing with them, they get that benefit. But you know, it's something that you can ask me as and when you get to that point and see how we can deal with it. And then there's also Atlas TI, which the university pool has paid fully, and it has a very good support system where Dr. Majila is always hosting workshops around it. And it has a little bit of AI in terms of coding and assisting you in terms of analysis. But once again, like I said, especially when it comes to qualitative analysis, one has to also understand the data, and if it was an interview, knowing who that person was, and you know, just the story behind whatever that is on the transcript. And then SPSS also, it's something that UNISA has paid fully for, and there's always workshops around it and support. And Pindi, not Pindi, Princess Masondo is the one who is advocating this one. And we also have Rightful. And the reason that I actually personally like Rightful is that with Rightful, you have to write a paragraph yourself, and Rightful will help you in terms of the grammar, the tone, for example, of academic tone, and verifying, you know, making sure that that paragraph is academically written. And then Grammarly, UNISA paid only for 1,500 subscription, only for staff members. But what is interesting now with Grammarly is it's as I said, you know, when you want to dodge it in terms of saying, how can I dodge, you know, turn it into to not see what I have done by putting it there and there and there in Grammarly, and then eventually Grammarly now has something that they call Grammarly authorship. In Grammarly authorship, every time you type, Grammarly is recording, you know, that you are typing. And then when you say copy and paste, it quickly also want to see where did you copy and paste, and it will say for something like you have copied and pasted from a software, an internet source, for example, or you have copied and pasted from a generative AI tool. And then that becomes more like a video that is taken in terms of you typing, and then you can submit it also at the end of the day when Turnitin, for example, says you have defaulted, you know, in terms of using generative AI to write for you. Then you can produce something like this and say that, you know, this is me typing. You can see that I am typing, you know, or the university later on, they can buy something like this where when you submit, you can actually submit that video clip of you typing to your supervisors or to your lecturers. But Turnitin, it's also just to come back on Grammarly authorship. Turnitin has also authorship, they call it Clarity. I'm not sure how the Clarity works. I haven't, you know, played around with it because we don't have it yet. But there is also something like this. I don't know how it's going to detect, but because with Grammarly, it detects you on Word document level, you know. And then importantly, again, as I said, you know, there are a lot of beautiful research assistant tools like Elicit, like SciSpace, and you'll see them. I think I've got it in the next slide. But the problem with them is that, you know, remember I said they are actually trained on open access articles, or they depend on Wikipedia, they depend on Google Scholar, and yet we are now talking about pollution of science, where you cannot trust those things as much as you can trust the library database ones, but you also have to be careful. So you can imagine, you know, the levels of trusting a free open source research assistant software like Elicit once again, or Research Rabbit. So with Canvas, what happens for now, we only using the free version, and I normally indicate show it at when we open a Word document that it will actually read what you have written and give you suggestions. So for me, when you start with clear seed, what I would call seed articles, then when you go and search in the database, it becomes easier because you already now know the keywords, that you're going to use in the databases, because in Canvas, you are not using keywords. It's context-based. So, and then importantly, once again, UNISA has just bought Providence, and it's fully paid for, and this can help you in your literature review. And so what can happen is that as you export your whatever that you got from, let's say, EBSCOhost to Providence, it will then help you to read with ease, because your article will be there. You can then just read, like I've also indicated that we don't have an excuse again of saying, I can't read, there's so many articles to go through and books and all that, because now with these tools, they make it easy for you to really chat with the PDF articles. And when you do that, then you can save them there, read them, and then automatically it will also remove all the duplicates that it has identified as you were searching. And then as you go, you can say screen again on article title and abstract level, and then you can go to full text level, and then eventually it will you will go to a level that is called data extraction level, where it will indicate that these are the authors that you have that support your literature. These are the dates. These are the because you are going to then say, my research question is like this. So I'm only, for example, if I want to determine the pregnancy rate in South Africa, then you're going to put those words there, and then the articles that support that statement, or the disadvantage of whatever that you want to see. So at the end of the day, it will streamline, and then you can then download that thing and really see which authors agree and which authors refute whatever that your argument is. And then the last one, again, is as a Unisens, you know that Microsoft or Office 365 is also embedded as fully paid, and it's embedded in all our documents, Word document, wherever. And again, I literally, all this that I've done, and you'll see at the later stage that I have actually acknowledged, and I was very transparent how I have used Copilot for this presentation. Again, ChatGPT, you can pay for it, but I don't advise that you use it for academic writing. But you can ask it questions that can actually really, give you a start, especially when you are stuck, But again, I'm always now on Copilot, and then Claude.ai is also one of the good ones. But at the same time, I would be very careful, because once again, the data that it has been trained on, do you trust it? Do you know where it's come from? It's coming from for you to be able to put it in your literature, and for your literature, for your thesis to go to our repository, and for your article to be published in any journal. And that you can see now I'm going back to pollution of science once again. And there's also thesis.ai, which is also I don't think it's free, because every time you look at it, I looked at it, I saw that you have to pay. But these are the things that I would say avoid, the free ones. But ask them questions, like, I don't know if I've got a slide where I am indicating the how you can actually use, the prompts. For example, asking a question like, I want an outline, what does this mean? The questions that you would feel free to also go to your lecturer and ask, and, talk between yourselves and your colleagues about. And the action plan for ethical AI use, it's, again, it is your responsibility to review institutional policies. Every university these days have not only, I know at UNISA, for example, we've got academic integrity policy, but we also have AI policy. It's still, and guidelines, it's still under, review, but we do have it. And the academic integrity policy, when I compare it with the draft of the AI policy, it's kind of, you're still safe if you can actually make it your Bible and really work around whatever that the academic integrity is guiding you. And you also notice that quite often now when you publish, your publishers like Science Direct, like Scopus, they do have guidelines, AI guidelines. UNISA Press has also completed its ethical guideline, AI guidelines. And I think also the library and any other work environment, they should also look into the ethical use. And you will agree with me, because I mentioned that you can't just take, for example, if the policy of the university or your work, it's not published on your website, you can't necessarily take it from a preserved space to ChatGPT, and you can't also, if we think about agentic AI, for you to start creating those agentic agent AIs, agent intelligence, you still have to ask, what is the policy of your employer? Use of AI should always be assist you with learning, and it shouldn't replace student original content or critical thinking. I hear a lot of people saying that AI is stealing, from us, but I don't feel like that. I feel like it actually helped me. It becomes my study buddy. With every question that I have, I can easily ask it. With whatever that I'm thinking of doing, I can just tell it that this is what I want to do. Can you advise me? If it doesn't know, usually it says it doesn't know, that kind of a thing. So I find it that it helps me in making decisions quickly these days than before. And again, all AI generated information must be checked against credible sources and cited for transparency's sake. And again, seek guidance when unsure, and then importantly, I have also just indicated that Rightful tool, it has those links that you guys can use. But, if you look into something like Rightful Revise, when you put it there, is it the one which, okay, this one is similar to the Rightful on Wait, but there is one that it's Rightful site. If I'm not, I don't know why I don't have the link, But with Rightful Cite, it will look into your document and indicate where you have missed the citations, So it becomes very, neat that you put it in the Rightful Revise, and that is you taking your work to the editor. But this time you're doing it yourself. Does it mean you don't have to take it to the editor? I think you should, but I'm simply saying, at least you will also learn and understand, where you made mistakes. And because for me, it's more also about learning. And then Cite, like I said, it will indicate that all the spaces where you need to look into, the missed citations, in-text citations. But for you to do that, again, if you've got quinoas, then it can actually identify easily to say, these are the latest around this topic. You just highlight the block of that paragraph, and then it will tell you that maybe you can read this article and that article and that article. And then here I actually put in the Grammarly authorship. Like I said, even though UNISA hasn't bought it yet for you because it's very expensive, but you can actually, before you submit to Turnitin, you can actually see the things that you have done and rectify them and submit it to Turnitin. And with Turnitin, take time again to revise, because you've got 3 submissions to revise and see, how you can improve your work. And then in the library now we have a LibGuide for AI, and then it has almost everything that I spoke about. And then you can just play around. There's also, quizzes there that you can follow. And also this is the UNISA academic integrity policy that I spoke about, and it will tell you exactly how UNISA is dealing with academic misconduct. And then we also promoting the digital information literacy course, and it's free. And I know people will say, it's going to take, I don't have time, but it's like I said, there's so many things out there that you have to be mindful of. And if you don't know what you're dealing with, it's best to be prepared and have the skills. And these skills are not only going to be for your academic work, but for personal reasons as well, and for work purposes, or your career purposes. And remember, quite often I spoke about settings and data privacy. Do you even go to those settings and really check what these people are saying about the data privacy? And especially in the global south, we depend on Amazon and all those people. What are they doing with the data? Will it backfire someday? And also the biasness that every time when we write, you only quote and cite the global north and then a few, but it's because these databases belongs to them. And when we learn these skills and understand, the holistic of AI, then we can actually begin to make good decisions on writing, on researching, on making sure that we are also represented. A good example will also be just enjoying to drive with Siri. But has it ever occurred to you that you can have your own African Siri that knows how to pronounce, our stuff? But we have to do these things, and that's why I say, for me, it's not. I think I'm looking more into China, where they learn from other people, and we call it, them stealing from other people, but they do their own things as well, So yeah, I'm just wanting to say, but again, there is support, and just now that I'm at the Research Commons and at the UNISA Library, you can just ask, drop me an email if you really want to understand stuff. And then I don't know if you have noticed that there was a court case for Claude. Anthropic is actually the company that developed Claude.ai, and they had to pay a whole lot of money because they were authors that they said they trained their Claude on their data without, and that's again copyright infringement. There's also a story in South Africa about is it what's his name? Oh my God! But he's the author. He also got a lot of money out of these things. So one has to always make sure that you understand what you're doing. And if there's any question, Chair, I will then take them. But again, like I told you, I have acknowledged that my acknowledgement of AI assistant. This presentation was developed with the support of Microsoft Copilot and AI-powered tool, and it's an AI-powered tool. It is used to assist me with structuring slides, content, clarifying ethical concepts related to AI use, generating examples and explanation, enhancing clarity and consistency across slides. All AI-generated content was carefully reviewed, verified against credible academic sources. Fortunately, I can say I know a lot about academic integrity, so it was easy for me to also see where it's AI was not, Copilot was not dealing, but at the same time there was nothing like that because I understand the subject matter quite well, and I have aligned it with the UNISA's ethical guidelines for responsible AI use, and this one is because I was also part of the AI task team, and I was also part of the UNISA Press. I actually helped to review UNISA Press AI guidelines. So having said that, this is basically how to be transparent when you're using these things, and also making sure that you record everything that you're doing, because it can come back and bite you way after you have graduated. With that,
thank you so much, Dr. Refilwe Phala, for your, should I say eye-opening or a warning, because I think there are disciplinary actions with regards to AI usage. But thank you for such a great presentation. But be that as it may, there's one slide that spoke about the tools, and that one it was in a form of a table. So it had Watching.it, Authenticate, Atlas, TI, and the likes. So I just want to check in with you here. Some of these tools, yes, I heard that you said UNISA has paid fully for them. So me as a student, what are my, to what extent am I allowed to make use of them? And also with regards to these things, it's more like you can use Atlas, TI, you can make use of Rightful AI, Grammarly, but at some point you'll also need to change that information, because Turnitin, it's waiting there by the gate to say, you may not get this master's because I'm here. I need to check if you did everything correct. Yes, I understand the resources have been paid by the university, but to what extent can I make use of them? And then again, another thing is with regards to, okay, what was my next question? But no, it's fine. But I think, can you just clarify on that point with these tools that UNISA, as our landlord, has paid fully for, and to what extent can we go with the usage of these tools? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Gumede. remember, let me just take you through to them quite quickly. One other thing that I have mentioned is that, like you, I would also want to do it myself, but it also depends what you want to do. Remember, I said when you say, for example, to chat, whether it's paid by UNISA or not, when you say write a literature review for me, it's wrong. And Turnitin, of course, it's waiting and it's going to highlight flag those entire literature review. So with Turnitin and Authenticate, basically there's nothing, they're freely accessible, because as soon as you register, Turnitin becomes freely available to you. That's why when you go to my modules, it's there. So you don't have to buy it, and there's nothing, that you can do. But what is important in Turnitin is that once you submit a draft chapter, for example, it gives you an indication of how you could have gone wrong and what you should then begin to rectify. So it gives you, that's why they call it revision 1, 2, and 3. So you revise, you rewrite, you do whatever the case that you need to do based on what it has found. Authenticate, we will leave it because, as I said, I made a mistake there. Atlas TI, by all means, why are you not using it? Because if there's one chapter that I have seen in Turnitin that will come up with less similarity index, it's in your qualitative, anything from chapter 4, where is data analysis and data presentation. It's going to be clean. The problem usually is chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, where you're dealing with research methodology and you're struggling to understand the concept, and then you want to take whatever Creswell said, and because you're not understanding it, and then you copy it and pasting it there. But with Atlas TI, there is nothing that Turnitin is going to find that is wrong, because it's going to be, once again, even if there is a auto coding, it's something that you can also say, if it's a data that is talking about, let's say, management, risk management, if it's a code that you are going to give, then if Turnitin highlights risk management, then it will fall under similarity. And I said to you, similarity doesn't mean plagiarism. So you don't be afraid when things are similar, because what Turnitin does is it goes out to repositories and finds similar things and shows you the similarities, not plagiarism. But having said that, you still have to go through your Turnitin report. Remember, I said that and if you don't know how, you can come. We'll teach you. And Erica is always giving trainings around this matter. You can tell us, I'm struggling. I want a workshop around these issues. So SPSS also, like the Atlas TI, it's more original, information that you got from your data, your sample, your participant. With Writeful, I was very clear to say, write it in your own words. But remember, myself, I actually like it because English is not my first language, but I do not tell it to write for me. And in any case, Writeful, unlike Grammarly, it doesn't write for you. You have to write and, get that paragraph cleaned. Like you would take it to your you would take it to your editor. But by all means, if you don't want to use it, you're actually helping yourself, because it's easy to actually make a mistake enjoying, copy and pasting from from ChatGPT to Writeful to a Word document, and then you think that you are dodging, turn it in. But remember, I said all of these things, they use almost the same syntax. So they will be able to detect machine written. But with Writeful, if it's my original text, it's not going to say it's generated by AI. No, because the AI, I don't write like AI. If you read carefully what AI is written, it leaves a whole lot of explanation between the lines, if you know your subject matter quite well. With Kinvas, there is nothing that is going to be wrong, because it will actually give you, what I called seed articles. Before you go to your library, you will be having something to start on, and not in Google Scholar, because usually we were starting on Google Scholar level and Wikipedia level. But with Kinvas, you start with your document, and then you can see the latest, the relevant articles that you can start with before you go to further research, because but this one also, it's again, it's not free. Covident, there's nothing you can't go wrong, because what it does, it helps you with organizing your literature review. So there is nothing that Turnitin will pick up that you have done, that Covident has done for you, and it's paid for, and it's free. Imagine right now, if I can ask you the question to say, where is your literature? Where did you archive it? It's somewhere in your desktop. It's somewhere in your Word documents, and somewhere somehow, when you are updating your chapters, you might not even find it. But if it's in Covident, it's always going to be there. So there's no way that you can miss out on whatever topics that sources that you have used. So, of course, with Microsoft, you have to be very, very, very careful. But once again, what I've said is that you can ask it questions. For example, if you don't understand a theoretical, what theoretical framework is, and your supervisor has explained, and you have attended the M&D, workshops where they taught you about what theoretical framework is, but you still don't get it. I ask it questions, and I find that it's very helpful. But again, if you know that you don't want to be trapped in these things, it's also a good thing that you don't use them. But we are bringing this, we are hosting this workshop because we want you to be mindful if you are using them. But if you don't have to use them, by all means, don't, because we survived without them for many years, and now we can't actually say. ChatGPT, like I said earlier, it's a no-no. Claude, no-no. This is AI, no-no. These are no-nos. But again, depending, if you know, you can ask it questions and whatever, but these are no-no. I hope I'm making sense.
I think with the previous slide, Mephala, you mentioned Atlas TI, and I just thought maybe just contributing 2 cents worth for those that are still maybe embarking on chapter 3, even on chapter 2. What I've also found very useful with Atlas TI is that if you've downloaded the software itself, there's actually a section where you can even access glossary. So it makes it very simple like, terms, I'm just thinking out loud, quantity, like sequential, explanatory, sequence when it comes to quantitative and so forth. I actually even double checked with Dr. Matjila, because there's a stage where, yes, I was consulting Creswell and Clark, Plano Clark and all of those. And I found that, Atlas TI, it simplified it very nicely. So like if maybe you are looking at expanding, or maybe for table of contents or for your glossary, Atlas TI, there's a section where it can assist with that. So we truly appreciate UNISA having afforded us an opportunity to access software such as Atlas TI and SPSS. I myself, well, initially when my proposal was accepted, I was going the mixed method, so utilizing both Atlas and SPSS. But yeah, the focus has changed, but I can quite navigate both softwares quite efficiently. So we do highly appreciate, and thank you so much for this session. Yeah, that is my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, and yes, I agree with you, Nonhle, and also I'm sure you will also attest that it also has an element of where you can also include your literature review and help you with your analysis of understanding all the sources that you want to read for your literature review. So yes, thank you for that input.
100%. And lastly, sorry, I just forgot something, but I'll be very, very quick, I promise you. Now, when it comes to quantitative, a lot of times quantitative data, especially if you're going to be using designing your own questionnaire, you have to put it through for validation, and maybe use the Cronbach's to check if the questions are reliable and they are actually aligned with your research questions. And Atlas TI also has the same format, and you can actually use it as a supporting document, maybe for your methodology chapter, where you can actually validate. So these are beautiful tools, and fellow researchers, there's always an opportunity to go to YouTube and learn step by step. There are still workshops that teach, and these are beautiful tools, and we are very blessed to be accessing them free of charge forever, from UNISA. Thank you.
Yes, and just to add, Dr. Matjila is always there to assist. And
100%.
Yes, I know, because you're always there, and he's an expert, I must say, and he is very patient, and really we are blessed to have him, and also
more than he's a blessing. He's a walking encyclopedia.
I promise.
And he will advise and guide. So those that feel that they are lost, please contact Melinda Elwa and make an appointment with Dr. Tony. And if something is showing you flames, he will extinguish it. Yeah, he will extinguish it.
That was a good one. Thank you very, very much. Because I think also, Chair, it's important that we discuss like this, because we see these things differently, and sometimes I use them like this, but somebody has used them, and when we talk, and then we can actually come to each other's assistance, and it becomes easier. I I'm sure you will agree with me, and that's why I'm saying I am not afraid to tackle anything these days, because there is help out there, you know, especially at UNISA.
100%, 100%, Mephala. How do we get access to Covidence? Who do we contact to get access to this app? Mephala?
Me.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, I think what I will then do is maybe send the links to Mr. Zulu, and then maybe he can paste it or circulate it to the group. But yes, let's do that, because we just been finalized the payment, and we want to make sure that we use it optimally, so that if we ask for other resources, UNISA can continue to support us, because it's also not fair that they buy these things and we don't use them. So definitely I will give it to Dr. Zulu to circulate.
Thank you so much. That's another question. Good evening. Thank you for the presentation. Will using programs such as Rightful and Kinesias be flagged by turn it in as AI and increase the percentage? It's a question.
Again, remember I've indicated that it depends. Quinoas, it won't, because it just suggests once again, let me just, if the participants allow, can I show you something on Quinoas, for example, on
Yes.
Word document, and then see if you can understand, because some of the things you let me just put it there. Can you see something here on the Word document?
No, we see only that page, or yes, with the tools access and whatever. Yes,
presentation.
Or the presentation. Let me, because I just want to, because sometimes talking about these things, when you don't see them, you're not sure what we're talking about. But Quinoas, like I say, it's just more like you taking let me see, and then I go to this one. Yeah. I want to show you this. Yeah, I'm sure it's visible now.
Yes,
this is just a transcript from Dr. Majile. But supposing to say, I just want to understand the context, I will go to Quinoas like this here. Then I click on it. And then if I really wanted to search for relevant articles, it reads this document and it will suggest articles. So it's like going to the library, searching the databases, and really using them for your articles. So it can be flagged with Quinoas. And what is nice now, and you can see how wonderful, this is a statistical workshop where Memasondo was actually talking about the t-test. There it is, and hence I say it gives you relevant, and if you look at the topic itself, it's very relevant. But if you search Google Scholar with keywords and the library databases with keywords, you won't get exactly like this, So when you click here, it's a full document, and it will also tell you whether you can trust this document. For example, you see it says access full text, and then, so for me, it's like those that you start with, I don't know, can you see the blue screen?
Yes.
Yeah. In this blue screen, what it did is it used LibKey to actually make sure that this article, it's not a paper mill. it's not from a predatory journal. So, and then it gives you access to the library. So, again, it's just, that is just what Kinross will do for you. So there's no way that you can be afraid that it will actually flag you in Turnitin. Once again, let's see if I can go back to this, and then this time I'm going to use let me close. I'm going to use Writeful. This is what I say, that you write a paragraph yourself, and then you go to say, check the paragraph, and then it's going to check it and then say, you know what, because you're using a British English, maybe do this, and then you accept whatever that needs to be accepted. But again, there is a space again for Writeful, where you can submit it in Writeful site. Remember, I talked about that. Let's see if maybe the English was not right, and I'm feeling like I want this paragraph that I've highlighted, that I wrote, to actually look paraphrase for me, but it's mine. What it does for me is that it's helping me, like how the editor will deal with your English as and when you send to the editors. And then you can read and say, yeah, I like it, I don't like it. And then you either insert, and then when you insert, it comes it replaces this one. But it's not going to say, Turnitin, it's not going to say you have plagiarized, because you wrote it in your own words. Only you used Writeful to rewrite it for you in a proper way. Like I say, English is not our mother tongue, and that is acceptable. But do not go to Grammarly, for example, or maybe ChatGPT, or maybe to an article, copy and paste something here, and then say rewrite. That is cheating. That is not allowed. And Turnitin, it's going to flag it. But again, that's where also Grammarly authorship assists, because as and when you copy and paste in your Word document, it will indicate that this person wrote only the first, this part, and this whole part, she copied and pasted it from an internet source, and Turnitin will have justified that, So no, I used Writeful in that manner, and I don't think it will. It's something that when you do it right, it's supposed to be a problem. But when you doing it wrong, and the wrong part is when you copy from ChatGPT a paragraph and paste it here, and then you say rewrite, that is cheating. That Turnitin is going to pick it up. Like I said, machine write the same way, and they leave certain unlike, when I talk about Turnitin, I will also explain it, and I will also give example. Machine won't do that. So stuff like that, personally, I use it. And I also know that a lot of lecturers, especially on undergraduate, they don't want students to use it. Discuss with your supervisor if you are unsure. But again, English is not our mother tongue. If you're good, you're good. Go continue to do that. But you can learn also from these tools if you use it properly. I hope it makes sense, Chair.
Yes, it makes sense, ma'am. Okay, the other question is, good evening. Why is the AI detector in Turnitin not visible to students on the Turnitin report?
Yeah, that's a very tricky one. And I am also in the Turnitin task team. And we are trying to also highlight those kind of issues. But up until now, it is what it is. It is how the guideline says it must be used. But we're hoping that we will also come up with a solution, because at the end of the day, we do not want to use Turnitin as a punitive measure. But yeah, there are those shortfalls, and we're looking into them. In the meantime, we can just accept that it is what it is. Yeah, it's unfortunate, and I'm one of those people that, feel like we shouldn't use it like that, but it is like that.
The other one is, what is your perspective on AI detection tools that flag students' work, particularly for non-native English speakers who tend to write in simpler English? Could this lead to unfair penalties, and might it be considered a form of educational discrimination?
Yeah, in terms of educational discrimination, I would say, you know what, it's about time that we write in our own native languages, but we are not there yet. And I then would say, remember, one thing that I've emphasized is also track yourself. If anything, also buy, because I don't think Grammarly authorship they're going to buy it. So if you buy it and you write it in your own simple, it records you. And you can actually submit it to your supervisor when Turnitin picks it up like that. But I do not necessarily think that is the case. I will have to be proven wrong in this one. And it's not the first time that I hear this argument, but at the same time, I'm not sure that, like I say, just record everything, even your prompts. Even, whatever that you do, just make sure that you retrace, because when you have a disciplinary case, you also need to bring evidence of what you have done. And sometimes, yes, now the students are, they 50-50 they can say that it's Turnitin doesn't prove that you have copied. But to a large extent, you will also be caught someday, somehow. And to a large extent, again, your degree can be retracted once again, So, and also, quite often, I also like to mention the fact that collectively, as a collective at UNISA, we have to also make sure that UNISA is well represented. And sometimes the way we represent UNISA is when UNISA is not in the news for wrong stuff, so and that it pains me when our students who are working so hard cannot be hired based on the fact that they're saying they would rather take a VETS student or a UCT student, and yet we do have very good students also at UNISA, simply because of the things that are happening around we are wrongly reported about our institution. I don't know if you hear what I'm saying, but I think at the end of the day, it's all our responsibility to make sure that UNISA is well represented in writing, in making sure that when you get an opportunity, you really do things the ethical way, and you are of high integrity in terms of everything that you do. So yeah, thank you. I hope it makes sense once again.
Yeah, I hope also that Mr. Magombe have have been answered. Moving forward, I'm not sure. It just says that, what about Copilot? I don't know the question really. It's not clear. Just say, what about the Copilot? But I'll move. Okay, this is just a comment from Mema Honga about Dr. Majila to say that he runs practical session on Atlas TI on a weekly basis,
Yes.
mostly on Mondays. Please check your monthly invitation from the College of Graduate Studies. You are welcome to email me for further information. There is the email address of Memahonga. Then moving forward, let's say one has used a no, a capital no, and a no with a small ones. How does one go about rectifying that, especially now that I'm equipped with this session? There's a capital no and a small no. I don't know. It's from Chilizi, Regina Mdau.
Maybe Chilete must just, what can I say? Talk to this question because I don't get it. But in terms of Copilot, remember I said Copilot is you avoid it. Avoid it. I was just showing you the things that UNISA has paid for and that have AI aspect in it. But if you don't trust yourself around these things, don't use them, especially the things like your COVID, like Copilot, like Grammarly, like especially the free ones like your ChatGPT, just avoid those things. Avoid them. Don't use them in your research. Because every day that passes, we learn something and we can see, the things that are not making, that are polluting, research.
Right, there is another one, I'm not sure, but I think you've answered this. From Lumadi, it says, if AI will be doing all this writing for us, when do we practice research? But I think you said that AI is not supposed to write it for us.
Yes. Yes, it's not supposed to. But like I said, I'm using it as a study buddy. Like if we have a group of people that we're discussing stuff, based on the assignment or whatever that we're learning, take it like that. Ask it questions. Don't tell it to write for you. That's cheating in any case. So yeah, don't. And remember, I actually mentioned that some people say it's making them lazy, but I enjoy these things because they are that body that I longed for. I don't have to call anybody quite often. I can ask questions, but it depends on how you're using them. That becomes the determining factor. If you say it must write for you, and if you copy and paste from wherever that you said it must write, you're not going to think, and you're going to be caught because you don't even know whether it's right or wrong, the things that it wrote. So definitely don't use them like that. And of course, once again, we're different in the way we learn. I'm an intuitive learner. I'm those that Nomsa is talking about. I'm always teaching myself something, be it on YouTube, be it on asking Copilot, what are the steps of using SPSS? And then, what does this test mean? I do that. And as I do that, it becomes, or maybe I write something and I look at how, for example, Rightful has changed that paragraph. And I learn from that. But I never really say I would say write for me and copy and paste that it's not, we shouldn't do that.
Yes, thank you so much. The last one is, how do we get these apps? Please, e.g. Rightful, and I think you've explained it, but you can just again explain where do you get it.
Okay, Rightful. I will also like in the I'll give it also to Mr. Zulu, and he can also put it there. And then usually, I think UNISA has put it in all our Word documents. If you open it, the only thing is for you to just create a password, and then you will be able to use it fully. So yeah, with Rightful, it's actually easy to get access of. Once you get to your Word document, that golden or yellow W, you can click on it, and then it will tell you, register or put in your password, and then you can start. But should you start using it and then you don't necessarily grasp how you should be using it, then you can give me a call, or maybe send me an email, and then we can just practice it together.
Perhaps I must start by saying every time I hear that journals get to be removed from the journal list, I get palpitations and anxiety. And I say, for me, as a PhD candidate who's just about to submit my work, and I must submit those 2 manuscripts, which are ready for submission. And what then happens if I submit and then later down the line, these journals get to be removed from the DHET journal list? What measures that the university has for me as a student to alleviate my fears? And my second question, it is on the Turnitin. I have some work that I need to submit, but the platform is asking me to answer some questions, and I have done that, but still I do not have access to submit my work for a similarity check. Those are my 2 questions.
With Turnitin, it's unfortunate, as I said earlier. The queue is just long. The only one person who can answer these questions is Me Erika van der Frinchbeck van der Walt. I actually get so sad when I think about Turnitin, because we do not know how to support you in this regard. But yeah, unfortunately, you'll have to just keep on asking, sending her emails, and really, yeah, that's all that I can say about Turnitin. I think with publishing, what can, in terms of publishing for you after your PhD, it's actually not as bad as if it was a lecturer who, or a researcher who wrote an article, submitted, and then they want to get, there's always this, for a lack of a better word, rebates that they get when they publish. So, because then they're not going to be paid. As soon as the journal is no longer on DHET, when there is a cycle of claiming and indicating, and then the journal disappeared, there's nothing you can do. But in your case, as PhD, at least you can prove that it was there, it was there, and you don't necessarily asking anything from it. It was just a requirement that you publish for your PhD. So at least in that case, you are safe. But this is where I'm saying your librarian and your supervisor must be there when you're making these kind of decisions, and making sure that you really choose. Like I said, the high quality ones, they also get be affected, but it's not as high as the low quality journals. So I think if one look at it like that, it's also something. However, the other thing is that it's not easy to publish in high quality journals as well. And this is your requirement. So I think that is where you remember that from time to time I kept on saying seek for support and really make sure that you discuss these issues with your librarian, with your supervisor, yeah. But that's how it is, Gidibone. Just a quick one, Chair. I see Nomse is highlighting that she attended a student conference, and I was part of that conference, Nomse, where Prof. Anthony Brown presented on the use of AI as assistive tools, which I've been emphasizing for research writing. What I recall, she says, was that he emphasized prompting. And yes, the prompting, and that's why I said, Nomse, when it comes to prompting, you also have to record your prompts, because it depends how you prompt. And you also saying that Prof. Brown said, give it a role, action, and audience. And it is also important to declare AI assistant in your writing up, which is, I think she's also emphasizing what I've been saying, but I want to also highlight and underline the fact that you can give it a role, action, and audience, but say, write for me, and that is a no-no. But you can say that and say, give me an outline. Outside, in that role, in that action, and for those audiences, because audiences differ. If I'm seeking an outline for PhD and seeking an outline for masters, they're going to be different. But it's not going to write for me. It's going to be to give me an outline. You see, yes. And I see she's agreeing with me. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Chair.
Ms. Mahonga, it's your time now. Please take over. Thank you very much.
Mary Filephala, you are such a lifesaver for us as a department and also to our students who are our researchers. Every time I listen to you, I always marvel at how easily you navigate the topic of academic integrity and the AI tools. And every time I listen to you, I always walk away with a lot of positive tips that I can use. So it's never too late to learn from you. It's never too late to pick up something new. And I must say, I also enjoyed how you dissected the entire toolkit and also the valuable information that you shared in terms of publishing. And looking at the situation tonight, I see that we have quite a few gaps to fill, and perhaps I should also take advantage of your presence here tonight to ask you if you would consider coming back for a last workshop for 2025, where we can now invite more students to join us, because tonight we only invited a limited group of master's students. But as Ms. Gidibone has indicated, she is a PhD student who's also worried about her publication future and results. So perhaps we could also now do a more comprehensive workshop. If your time allows, Mephala, please consider that. In closing, let me say in my language, ukwanda kwaliwa umthakathi, and please Mephala ungadinwa nangomuso. In other words, when we invite you, please shall we bear on you to accept our request. You have seen how active our researchers are and how keen they are on picking up knowledge, because as you have so perfectly emphasized, these are assistive tools that the university has spent a lot of money on. And if we don't use them, it means we are just engaging in fruitless expenditure as a university. So this, to our researchers, is a tool that we can engage with. And I also appreciate how you have availed yourself to our students, and I'm definitely sure that they will contact you With these words, allow me to hand over to the program director. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you very much and good night.